How do we make this world a better place? In the wake of the unfolding events around us, it's important to recognize that our attention is often seized and exploited for various purposes. In simpler terms, distractions are everywhere, vying for our focus and energy. When the world's tensions escalate and the waves of chaos threaten to overwhelm us, it's easy to become emotionally entangled in the turmoil. It's easy to become emotionally hijacked to the point that you feel so emotionally distraught. However, it's precisely in these moments like these that we're called upon to shift our perspectives. Instead of fixating on the external world, we're invited to turn our gaze inward into the depths of our own being. Welcome to my channel. My name is Francis. If you're new here, welcome. Have a seat, poke around. My goal is really to inspire you to rise above your self-doubt, conquer your fears, and embrace a life of limitless possibilities, free from judgment with full clarity. And I believe when we defy the resistance in our lives and face our fears, we can actually create wildly beautiful lives. So as always, I'm going to share some rather unconventional thoughts with you. So get ready for a radical perspective shift if you're open to it. And I'd love it if you do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, join the Thrive newsletter to keep the conversation going offline. So let's get to it. The world doesn't need a savior. Let me explain. A few months ago, I had a meeting with an intuitive. I've met with her twice now. And during the first meeting, one of the things that she said to me was, my karmic pattern is that of an advocate. I'm a social change agent. I'm not sure if you believe in karma or karmic patterns, but I do. Essentially, she said that I've been doing this for multiple lifetimes, meaning being a healer, being in this space. But the karmic pattern has been that I burn myself out, that I put the external world over my own personal needs. And I've done this for multiple lifetimes. And she said, in this lifetime, you're being challenged to heal less. I'm still figuring that out. And one of the things that she said was like, Francis, the world doesn't need you to save it. The world does not need to be saved. I thought, whoa, that was a very radical shift for me. And I had to really sit and think about this a little bit. So this is going to be the premise of our conversation together. I feel like a lot of people who watch my material, a lot of y'all might be empaths, and essentially meaning empaths are those who absorb a lot of energy around them, especially energy that's a bit chaotic, a bit frenetic, heavy. And we take that on. We tend to absorb all of that. And by doing so, it really weighs us down. It puts us in a really difficult mood, right? It puts us in a mood that it's very hard to sometimes process. And when we continuously absorb that energy around us, it really has a negative long-term impact. And I don't believe in the negative and positive rhetoric, but it's going to pose some challenges for us. So I want to talk about it because there's a lot going on out there in the world. And this perspective might help a little bit. And so many of us might often find ourselves on this mission to save the world. But in that noble pursuit, we sometimes forget that the most critical rescue mission of all is saving ourselves. And now this perspective doesn't advocate for selfishness where you prioritize yourself at the expense of other people. Instead, it's really about getting clear on what and who you're actually saving. And I believe that the thing about saving or saving people or saving the world, it's the idea that the people don't have their own internal resources to do their own saving. Like the world doesn't have its own internal resources to do their own saving. And I don't believe that. I think everyone comes fully equipped to go on this journey. It just gets lost along the way. And so the goal is to reconnect with that inner strength and that inner guidance system to help sort of manage all of the challenges that might come up. So like I said, it's very easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of trying to save the world. But in that process, we might neglect the very person who needs saving the most, ourselves. It's really a paradox, isn't it? We set out to make the world better, yet we forget that the world truly becomes better when we are in a state of healing. So let's talk about the perspective from which much of this saving comes from. Why do we do this? I have a few theories. The first thing is it stems from our ego, a belief that by saving the world, we'll be revered as heroes. But here's the truth. The world doesn't necessarily need heroes. Because if we become this hero, we'll be respected, we'll be admired. It makes us feel good, that stroke of the ego, right? And where does that come from? This desire often springs from the ego's need to seek external validation and recognition. We believe that by saving the world, we'll achieve a sense of significance and importance in the eyes of those around us. But this is a false illusion. And I remember Savan Balmer said that often people misconstrue their mission with their ego. They're so intertwined that they don't even realize or remember what the actual mission was. It gets lost in the ego. Another theory is that saving the world can also be a cover-up for our own wounds, a way to conceal the pain that we carry. It acts as a mask, concealing our own unhealed wounds and insecurities. So we throw ourselves into global causes and issues to distract from our own inner pain or to find a sense of purpose that we feel is lacking within ourselves. And I find this to be a lot of activists. And I come from that world. I come from working that front lines. I come from being a social advocate. Like in my former lifetime, this is the stuff that I did. I was entrenched in it. And I realized that I was literally spinning my wheels. I was making myself sick and it just wasn't adding up. And I needed something to be different. I needed a change. Another theory about like the motivation to try to save the world is sometimes this insatiable desire to please others, even in a sense of like martyrdom. Sometimes we take on the role as savior, again, to seek approval or love from those around us. And some of us believe that through a sense of martyrdom, believing that our suffering and sacrifice for the greater good will earn us respect and admiration. Again, the ego. But what happens over time is that these motivations can actually lead to burnout and a sense of emptiness. We're not here to be martyrs. We're not here to sacrifice ourselves. Like, this is not medieval times. You feel me? Like, we're not here to do that. And most of the time, people didn't ask you to sacrifice yourself for them. We sometimes take it upon ourselves to do these things. Why? So all of these deep desires to save the world can be a way of avoiding the deep emotional work needed for personal healing. When I was in the front lines and I was doing all that activism work and I was out there putting myself out there, burning myself, working 10-hour shifts and doing all these things. And when it was done, I was like, who was I without this cause? I didn't have so much to distract me when I finally took a pause, when I went from one extreme to the next. I left the mental health field. If you don't know my story, you can poke around and see the videos. But I left the mental health field, went the other direction, total opposite direction. And eventually I was in this in the state of stillness, a state of silence, where I didn't have all those distractions keeping me from doing the healing work that I needed to do. And that became hard. Now, I do want to establish some clarity here. I'm not suggesting that we abandon all of our causes. What I'm emphasizing is the importance of cultivating a profound and well-balanced understanding of our motivations. So it's really crucial for us to ask ourselves, like, what truly drives us? Like, why do we feel this need so intensely? Because what can happen is that these motivations can actually lead us astray. So what does the world truly need from us? It needs us to heal. It needs individuals who are whole and healed. It doesn't mean like, oh, once I heal, I'm done. It's not how it works. But you gain some skill sets that allow you to manage life's challenges and all the waves that come up, right? The overwhelming waves, the tension, all of those things. The world needs us to transform, because when we prioritize our own healing, we naturally radiate positivity and healing energy into the world. Imagine your healing journey as ripples in a pond, right? As you work on yourself, these ripples spread outward, touching the lives of those around you. When you are healthier, when you are more compassionate, when you're filled with empathy, and when you're grounded, you naturally inspire and uplift those around you just by your example, just by existing, by being it. And so your actions and energy can have a far-reaching positive impact on your community and beyond. People rush to save the world without addressing their own needs. Their efforts can become misguided and less impactful. So what happens is that their efforts, their good, does more harm than good. So this egoic standpoint of saving the world is flawed. It doesn't align with the world's true needs. And it can serve, again, like I said, as a temporary distraction from deep, authentic healing. So by taking the time to heal and grow personally, you can become a more powerful force for positive change within the world. Because ultimately, the goal is collective healing, healing in community, healing with community. By recognizing that personal healing contributes to the greater good, you align yourself with a more sustainable and effective approach to making the world a better place. It's about creating a world where individuals are empowered and capable of fostering positive change together as one. So there's going to be a lot happening next couple months, next few years. The world is going to want to pull you out of yourself. And when you get that intense emotion, whether it's intense sadness, intense hate, ask yourself, what is underneath all of those feelings? Like, why do I feel so pulled or so called to this? Because as you continue to do this work on a spiritual level, you find that the world is actually working in perfect order. That might be hard for a lot of people to digest. I remember listening to Ram Dass, and he had said that as people become more conscious, they begin to meddle less with the world. They begin to see the world for what it truly is. So the world does not need you to save it. The world needs you to save yourself. So commit to this path of expansion, commit to healing, commit to learning all of the skills that you need to learn to navigate life's challenges so that you can live a life that makes you feel good, because it's through that feeling that the world will begin to shift. It's through that energy, right? Because we're all energy beings. So once that energy shifts, the world will start to shift. That's all I got. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Share in the comments below one way that you'll focus more on your own healing and what you're going to do to stay away from all the distractions around you. In the meantime, join my Thrive newsletter where I'll be announcing something big in the next few weeks. I keep talking about it, but it's coming. And I will see you on the other side of wholeness. Thank you for watching.